I'm always looking for recipes that involve produce that are ripe at the same time. And so today we're going to do asparagus and spinach, which are available now from your garden and really, really good. They were also something that was requested. So if you have any ideas of something you might like me to prepare, send us an email and we'll try and do that. I've got a saucepan here, or excuse me, a skillet, and I'm adding about a tablespoon of canola oil or vegetable oil, something that'll hold up to the heat a little bit, and half a cup of sweet onion. I'm using a Vidalia, but you could use whatever kind of sweet onion you have available. We're going to let those come to heat, and we're going to simmer them for about 2 minutes, keeping an eye on it to make sure that it doesn't get too brown. Now, while that's happening, I want to show you what I did a little bit ahead of time. As required by the recipe, but not wanting to take too much time on the segment. I've got half a pound of whole grain pasta. Now, I'm using penny pasta, but you could use any other kind, any other shape. You could even switch to spaghetti. This is going to be a salad. I'm actually making, so as long as you have a pasta, have it prepared to the al dente stage rather than cooking it till it's really soft. About the only recipes that really call for really soft macaroni is a Hawaiian macaroni salad, and we may do that one someday, but not today. So keep it a little bit of bite to it. We're not going to cook it anymore after this, but we did want to cook it, drain it, and then just keep it warm. This is going to take us 6 to 8 minutes to get the rest of it ready. So drain it well and then put a lid on it, and we'll be ready for it when these other things are ready too. Keep an eye on the onion as it's browning. You don't want it to actually get brown. It's more of a trying to get it softened up. To this, we're going to add a cup of chicken broth. Now, if you want to turn this recipe into a vegetarian version, you could easily substitute vegetable broth with that. Try to use a low sodium version and probably a reduced fat variety if possible, just to keep the fat content low. We're going to add a little bit of fat to this later on, so we don't need to add it in the form of the meat broth. I've got a pound of asparagus before I snap the ends off, and I've cut it into 1.5 inch pieces. And we're just going to bring this up to a boil and let it, once it gets to a boil, we're going to let it boil for about 4 minutes, but I'm going to turn the heat down on it because I don't want to use more energy than I need to. This is simmered for about 4 minutes. We just want to barely cook that asparagus so that if you actually like it less, you could cook it less if you chose to. We're mostly just trying to cook it down. Then I've got 4 cups of spinach. Now these were packed into the measuring cup. So as you can see, the challenge will now be to get it measured out here in the pot without having spinach flying everywhere. To that, I'm also going to add our pasta. See if I can get the last of that in there. And finally, I've got a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese and a little bit, about 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. And you can up or down those as you choose to in order to get the proportions that you like. Then it's simply a matter of tossing it around. We want to get all those ingredients that are down at the bottom up here to the top. The last couple of ingredients after we get this tossed a little bit, and I'm going to go get another tool here, so maybe with 2 tools I can do a little bit better tossing. What we're going to add on the top of this after we get the cheese melted in here and everything mixed together and get some of this asparagus back up to the top, I'm going to add a little bit more Parmesan cheese just as a decorative measure, so to speak. And then finally, I've got 2 slices of bacon that I cooked ahead of time. Now, the recipe originally called for having the bacon cooked in the pan and then cook it till it was crisp and take it out, which I did. However, I also, rather than use that bacon fat, which the recipe called for to cook the onion, I changed the flavor by adding the oil instead. That changed the flavor of it a little bit. We're still going to have that bacon taste, but we're going to have a much better fat profile on here, so it's going to be a healthier recipe with just a little bit of change in flavor. It's still very, very good, trust me. The other thing that I wanted to mention was that if you're vegetarian or if you have someone in your family who is, rather than use the bacon in the recipe, you could use one of the bacon substitutes, which I've not been real happy with as far as the flavors on them is concerned. But instead of that, you might want to try either croutons, which would give it that crispy flavor. It also gives it a little bit of color, which I think is nice here. So we'll sprinkle a little bit more Parmesan cheese on. Now notice that I didn't add salt. I also didn't add salt to the pasta. And that's because we're getting a lot of salt from the Parmesan cheese and also from the bacon. This will get some really pretty color from the bacon too. So it's a very simple dish. It goes together very quickly. It makes a hearty luncheon. It could be a side dish as well. Serve it with a nice crusty loaf of bread and maybe another vegetable, or would be really good with some strawberries on the side, I think. And there you have it. This is spring pasta with asparagus, spinach, and bacon. For Oklahoma Gardening, I'm Barbara Brown.